Por eso saqué la salida.
Welcome to Tiger Island. Before we begin the show, we do have a few safety reminders. As for all of our show areas, there is no smoking allowed. If you're seated in the selected area, please remain seated throughout the show. If you must exit before the show is over, please use the nearest handrail and exit up and out of the stadium.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Arrowhead Splashdown here at Tiger Island. My name is Chris, and I'm hoping that all of you are going to have a good time this afternoon, and you're also going to learn something as well about one of the world's most beautiful and endangered animals, the tiger. As you can see, we have one tiger on Tiger Island already. His name is Fedor. Now, Fedor is a 2-year-old Amur tiger cub. I'll actually be talking more about him later on during the show, but we're going to be working on bringing Fedor into the water. Now, it is a little chilly in there, and you might be thinking to yourselves, well, I thought all cats hate water. Well, for the most part, you would be correct, but there are a few notable exceptions, the most significant one of which is the tiger. Now, Fedor is going to demonstrate just how much tigers love the water by doing our first behavior for you. He's going to show you how tigers swim. Our trainer on this side of the fence is going to get Fedor's attention, hopefully, and ask him to swim across the deep end of the pool. Now, it might take him a few moments to get started, but even tigers in the wild, they live around water, so they're very used to the water. Not only will tigers use the water as a way to cool down during the hot summer sun, they'll also use it as a hunting tool. They'll actually chase their prey into the water to slow down their prey, but it makes it a lot easier for a tiger to make a kill. Now, Fedor is very new to this behavior. He's only been doing it for a few months now. For any tiger, it definitely takes a couple of years to master a behavior. But hopefully, once he does get started without taking the shortcut. Now, this just proves, folks, that we cannot force the cats to do anything that they don't want to do. We can merely ask them to do the behaviors that they've been trained to do. And sometimes, they have ulterior motives on their head. Now, he's thinking about it, but he's going to hopefully turn around and splash the front row. And hopefully this time he will make that plunge into the deep end. Almost. There he goes. Now you'll notice that it does sort of look like a doggy paddle, but of course he is a tiger. He prefers that we call it a tiger paddle. And he is a very tall cat. He actually stands about 8 feet tall right now, but he is not full grown yet. He'll actually stand about 10 feet tall when he's done growing. And hopefully he'll make it away across the other half of the pool. And when he makes it to the right-hand side, let's give him a nice round of applause. Now, Fedor, since he took a little while on doing that behavior, we're actually going to keep going on with the show, and we're going to be joined by more cats momentarily. And while that's going on, I'd like to tell you folks why we feel that doing a show like this is so important. Now, a lot of people don't even realize how endangered the tiger actually is in the wild, but there's less than 4,000 tigers left in the wild. Some scientists believe in a matter of 10 years, there's soon going to be no tigers left in the wild. Now, if this happens at places like Marine World, will be the only places they can see these animals, and we feel that if there's a need for the tiger to be kept in captivity, then this sort of tiger-trainer relationship provides the most stress-free and enriching environment possible for these animals. Now, there are two primary reasons why the tiger is so endangered in the wild: habitat loss and poaching. tigers living in Asia come from the continent with the highest human population in the world. That population expected to double within the next 30 years. There's soon going to be no space left for these animals to live. But a more pressing issue facing the tiger is poaching, also known as illegal hunting. Now, tigers are poached for a number of different reasons, and the most obvious one of which is for their coats. Many people believe a tiger's skin is very beautiful and like to have them as area rugs or wall hangings in their house. Well, we here at Tiger Island believe, and hopefully folks agree with us. In fact, let us hear you nice and loud if you agree that that tiger's coat is a lot better on a live one than hanging on somebody's wall or floor. Glad you folks agree with us, but actually the number one reason tigers are poached is for their internal organs and their bones. There are various cultures that believe that if you take a tiger's bone, grind it up, and ingest it in either pill form or in some wine or vinegar, that can cure all sorts of medical illnesses. Anything from arthritis to acne to even cancer. Well, this has been proven to be untrue by modern day science, but it is often very difficult to convince these cultures that it isn't true, and unfortunately it's still very prevalent today. In fact, you only have to go as far as San Francisco, right into Chinatown, you actually find all sorts of legal products made out of tiger parts. But the good news is our tigers here at Marine World are doing fantastic, as one of them was demonstrating earlier by answering the call of nature, what she's about to do again. Now that would be Odin. Odin is 5 years old and weighs 430 pounds. Odin is a white Bengal tiger. No, he's not an albino tiger, he's not a Siberian tiger, it doesn't come from a snowy area either. He is simply a white Bengal tiger, as all white tigers are. Now he gets this white coloration from a recessive gene that's passed down to him from his parents. Both parents must carry this recessive gene and pass it down in order for it to occur. It's sort of similar to having blonde hair and blue eyes in humans. In fact, Odin's father was actually an orange Bengal tiger, but he didn't carry that recessive gene for the white coloration. Now the other orange tiger that just joins us, her name is Nikita. Nikita is the full sister of Fedor. They are both, as I mentioned earlier, 2-year-old Amur tiger cubs. They also know an Amur tiger be called a Siberian tiger, and they do come from a snowy region, but you'll notice that they are not white. They're always going to be orange. You may also be wondering why I call them cubs when they each weigh well over 300 pounds. Well, that's because tigers don't reach maturity until about 4 years of age, and the Amur tiger is the largest of all the cat species. When Nikita's done growing, who is all the way on the left, she's actually going to be weighing over 400 pounds. She'll be about Odin's size or larger. And when Fedor is done growing, he'll be weighing in between 600 and 800 pounds. So they both have a little bit of growing to do still. Now we're going to hopefully bring Odin's attention back over to his stage position. We'll be running these cats through a series of natural behaviors. Odin knows these behaviors quite well, but Fedor and Nikita are still just learning, so hopefully you'll be seeing some training in progress. To reward the behaviors done correctly, a little bit of a food reward, and the first treat the cats are getting is some 2% low-fat milk, which of course does the body good, even for a tiger. And the first behavior we have for you is called a fighting posture. This is what tigers would use to settle any dispute that they might get into. They would rise up on their hind legs and then use those powerful front paws, much like a boxer, to knock their opponent off balance and thus gain the advantage. Now what do you folks think of these cats so far? Alright, the cats are going to get reset. This will get them ready for their next behavior. This one's called rise, so let's imagine these trainers as trees. Tigers would rise up onto the tree and then use those sharp front claws to strip the bark off the tree, thus leaving deep gouges in the wood. Now this is just one way that tigers in the wild will mark their territory. And there is of course another way that all cats mark their territory, and that is by urinating on things. So once again, let's imagine these three trainers as trees. You folks want to see that, right? You guys are gross. We're not going to do that. But we're going to bring these cats over to the fence and get an idea of how big they actually are. Over on the right, we have Odin doing this fence rise for you folks. He stands about 8 feet tall. And as I said earlier, when Fedor does this behavior, he stands at 8 feet tall as well. And like I said, when he's done growing, he's actually going to be standing about 10 feet tall, making that behavior somewhat difficult for some of our shorter trainers to do. And if you look closely at the fence while the cats are doing that behavior, you might actually see a few claws sticking through. That's a reminder that here at Marine World, we do not declaw nor defang any of our tigers. In order to work safely with these animals, we have to raise them from the time they're just a few weeks old, or spend many, many years being introduced to the tigers by the trainers that did raise them. Now something to keep in mind, folks, is that these cats are not tame or domesticated. They are merely well-trained wild animals. And unfortunately, a lot of people try to keep tigers as pets, and they have to find out the hard way that tigers will never make good pets. In fact, in the state of Texas, authorities respond to about a mauling a month, usually involving the young children or friends of the people that own these animals. Now, our tigers are very cute and our trainers look very relaxed. for the most part, but that only comes from many years of training that both the Tigers and the trainers receive. So in other words, folks, don't try this at home. Now we have been joined by a fourth Tiger. If you haven't noticed, her name is Kisa. She's full sister to Fedor and Nikita, and she'll be splashing around in the water, hopefully doing some jumps and having some fun with her siblings. Now Odin is going off on his own, but Odin is an extremely laid-back cat, and that's exceptional because tigers aren't only a solitary animal. And while he'll be out here and tolerate the cubs, it's often very difficult to introduce a new trainer to Odin. Definitely takes 2 to 3 years or longer to introduce someone to Odin, and even then he might want to test that person to see what he can get away with. And being tested by a tiger is no fun, folks. I can assure you that. Now, while Odin's off in the corner having time out, we're going to go ahead with Fedor, and he's going to demonstrate our next behavior for you folks. He's going to show you how tigers dive. Now, tigers in the wild will dive underwater when they chase after the prey. You'll notice he'll fold his ears back to keep water from going in the ear canal. He'll find that piece of meat, bring it to the surface to eat it, and to get a nice round of applause from you folks. Now that was Fedor doing that behavior. He is the amateur. We got Odin coming in to show you how a professional tiger dives at doing that behavior. We've actually seen him dive down and hold his breath for 30 to 40 seconds at any given dive. Pretty sure he can hold his breath longer than that, but I don't want to be the one to hold his head underwater to find that one out myself. Now, how you folks like to see that done a couple more times? This on? Would you like to see that one more time? Alright, we'll get these two cats to do this behavior a couple more times. And while the trainers are interacting with the cats in there, I'll answer a couple common questions we get asked on Tiger Island. Now, a lot of people wonder if this is enough room for the tigers, and the answer is yes. Tigers, just like all cats, are one of the laziest animals around. Even in the wild, they sleep 16 to 18 hours a day, and the only time that they run in the wild is when they're chasing after their prey. And even then, it's only for short bursts, not for long distances. As long as we balance their food intake with their activity level, we'll actually have very fit, healthy cats on our hands. And since we do work hands-on with our tigers, we can actually provide them a level of stimulation unlike any other zoo or animal park. In fact, all of our tigers are also leash trained, so when you folks aren't here and we're close to the public, we can actually leash up all the tigers and take them for walks all around the park. In fact, if you check out some of the trees around the area, you may actually see some peat gouges in the wood that come from our cats as they go on their daily walks. Pretty much anywhere you folks go today, these cats have been there many times before. Another common question is a lot of people want to help an endangered species like the tiger, but they don't know how to do it. Well, the best thing you can do is to get involved with various organizations or to help solve the problems facing these animals. Now, on the pillar on the left-hand side, on the side facing me, we have a list of these organizations and one local organization that we here at Marine World support, right out of Marin County. It's called the Fund for the Tiger. This organization sponsors sting operations in the wild to help catch poachers in the act. They strike right at the heart of the problem, and as a residual effect of their efforts, they also help other endangered species, such as elephants and rhinos. But by donating your time or money to any of those organizations, you'll actually be doing a big difference in the survival of an endangered species, just like the tiger. Now we're going to continue interacting with the cats in here a little while longer. We'll try to get a few jumps out of Nikita and Kisa. We'll get a few more dives out of Odin and Fedor. If you have cameras, feel free to come down the railing at this time to get a few pictures of these cats diving underwater. This is, after all, one of the few places in the world that you see tigers diving, but please keep in mind that the railing is there for a reason. Please remain on your side of it for your safety. We'll also have our trainers right at the fence to answer any questions that you folks might still have. But before we go any further, how about we get one more big round of applause for all the cats out here today. Alright, our trainers in there have been Lee and Eric on dry land. Jonah's been in the water. My name is Chris, and on behalf of your hosts and hostesses, we all hope you continue having a great day here celebrating our 45th anniversary at Six Flags Marine World.